River. You guys have made some moves. I think you guys have made less moves, but you brought in more playmakers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so we let go a lot of guys in free agency. Dan Moore, we released Larry Ogunjobi. We've done different things. We've kind of had a lot of unrestricted free agents this free agency. We lost both. Well, you can't say both because we haven't lost the one yet, but we did lose Justin Fields. He is going to be a Jet. A lot of people, including myself, were really upset by that because, in my opinion, I felt that Justin Fields, although wasn't the greatest player ever, I figured he had already played with the Steelers for a year. You might as well sign him to either another year or a 2-year extension. What could it do that's poor? Because right now we're in the exact situation that I was afraid of, and that is that we don't have a quarterback. Because now we don't really have anybody that you can really rely on the idea that there is going to be somebody throwing to the newly brought in DK Metcalf. And your other side of the field is George Pickens. And it's great. And the problem is there's some holes, but it's not, they're fixable holes, but they're still concerning holes. Like I said, we let go of a lot of guys. We let a lot go to unrestricted free agency. We made a qualifying offer to Jalen Warren, which is pretty big considering Najee went on to the Chargers, which I kind of figured Najee wasn't going to stick around just because although Najee's good, number one, the Steelers don't like to keep running backs too long unless they're Jerome Bettis or something like that. And he is very much not a bad player. Always showed up to work and always did well when he could, but he just feel like he was missing a little bit of that spark. So I'm not surprised that he moved on. And I think he'll have a little bit of new light in LA, and I'm hopeful for him. When it comes to the Steelers free agency moves, well, the big one that I made a whole 10-minute video about was DK Metcalf. Like I said, very big on that move, but the problem that I have with it in the whole video in a nutshell was, and I encourage you to go back and watch it because I go into it in a little bit more in depth, but the idea that we don't have somebody to throw to him. And although DK Metcalf is really good, me and my friends made the joke today that we were also going to sign Cooper Kupp. It's not true. I doubt it's true, but we would have all of these wide receivers, which was the biggest issue for the last couple of years with the Steelers, and now we don't have somebody to throw. And although the guys we had a couple of years ago, post-Ben, like Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, etc., although Kenny Pickett isn't starting caliber quarterback, I feel like maybe even with better wide receivers, he probably would have been at least somewhat better than he was, but we're never going to know. And like I said, somebody's going to rip my head off and talk about the Eagles and stuff like that, and Kenny Pickett and whatnot. But I'm just saying, I don't think it was, I think it would have been more of a left to be seen. And then, moving on from Kenny at that point. But yes, as you mentioned, DK Metcalf was a big one. Darius Slay was another big one. Cornerback from the Eagles, who is best known for causing a fight with Darnell Washington when it comes to Steelers knowledge and being a very aggressive, physical cornerback, which is something good, though. And I'm hoping that the passion that he had with the Eagles and the intensity that he had with the team last season doesn't dwindle into this season. We've signed a lot of cornerbacks in the past, in the last couple of years, that really haven't panned out all that well, such as Patrick Peterson, who have had former all-star careers and really haven't done a whole lot. So I'm kind of hopeful, and that's why I'm glad that this is only a 1-year deal. So if Darius Slay for some reason doesn't play well, we can just kind of let him go. But I'm hopeful that that doesn't happen because we definitely need some help in the secondary. Obviously, we had DK Metcalf. I'm just looking at the list here. Kenneth Gainwell, also another signing, is pretty good considering, as mentioned, Najee Harris not going to be starting anymore. It's probably going to be Jalen Warren as well as Gainwell. So that'll be kind of beneficial. And Gainwell's only signed for a year, and it'll give us some time to look into drafting a new running back or making that push for another big running back somewhere in free agency or the trade deadline or whatnot, because it's kind of a place in which it's kind of lacking right now. Jalen Warren, I don't feel, is on a level of intensity when it comes to running backs like Austin Eckler. And the reason I bring up that position is because when the Chargers went and didn't bring back Melvin Gordon years ago, Austin Eckler was the was the predecessor, and he ended up panning out, I feel like, a lot better for the Chargers than Melvin Gordon did in some aspects. So fortunately, Jalen Warren's not like that. He has the potential to be, but he's just not there yet. And I think this will be beneficial, especially depending on if we draft running back or what we decide to do. And lastly, the last move we made was linebacker Malik Harrison from the Ravens, which I don't know too much about him, but obviously, I mean, we love to beef up our defense, and I'm hoping that he shows a little bit more intensity, because when we got Patrick Queen, I was very hopeful for him, but he really didn't show me a whole lot this past season. So I'm hopeful that by getting another player from Baltimore and from their defense, that he actually kind of shows some promise there. But the big thing that I'm waiting on with the Steelers, all other positions aside, is the quarterback. I mean, that's the biggest flaw here. I mean, this team isn't bad, and I mean, obviously 9 and 8, 10 and 7 seasons isn't what you want, but I really think that at the end of the day, you need that quarterback. And I think this season we're going to draft another one. In my opinion, I think we are going to draft another one. We don't have a second round pick, and I think we're going to end up going for somebody. We're going to end up reaching, in my opinion. I think we're going to end up reaching or trading up, and I think we're going to end up drafting a quarterback that's not going to start this year. And I think that one of the big rumors right now is not Russell Wilson. Actually, it's not really that big of a rumor, I don't think, but it might be something that I've heard and whatnot. But they did reach back out to Mason Rudolph about bringing him back. And the pairing that people were talking about doing is having rookie quarterback, whoever it wants to be. Obviously, it's probably not going to be somebody in the first couple of, selections, but we'll throw. I don't know where you would put a lot of these quarterbacks at. I mean, obviously, it's. Where do you put Jackson Dart? Where do you put Quinn Ewers? Where do you put those guys? Are they further down than? I'm blanking on his name right now from Miami. Is he better than
Cam Ward?
Yeah, Cam Ward.
I think Dart and Ewers definitely are. Ewers, I think, will probably go in the 3rd round. Dart will probably go in the 2nd.
Right. So my thing is that I think that they'll probably reach for Dart, assuming they'll probably end up reaching for somebody like Dart, or getting a 2nd round pick so they can draft Dart and or Ewers or wherever they fall when it comes to the draft. Then you have Mason Rudolph as quarterback 2, and then quarterback 2 or 1, I guess, and then the other one was Gardner Minshew.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that. I heard the Rudolph rumor.
The Rudolph rumor is much more in depth. I feel like the Gardner Minshew one is just a kind of more of an idea. I don't think there's any rumors of them like talking or anything like that, because I think the Steelers are still kind of trying to figure out what they're doing with Rodgers and Wilson right now, because Wilson's obviously a free agent still. Fields is out of the picture right now. So you have 2 really big veteran quarterbacks. Russell Wilson already played for the Steelers last season. Russell Wilson is now going to go visit the Browns tomorrow, which is Thursday, March 13th. And then Friday, March 14th, he's going to be in New York, I believe, is the lineup.
The Giants.
And, yeah. And so from there, we'll figure out if he decides to go with either or go with the Steelers. And then Aaron Rodgers is kind of just like waiting on his own time. But if the Steelers decide not to wait on Aaron Rodgers and him meditating and figuring out what he wants to do, there is that option that people mentioned that could be an idea. Like I said, I don't think there's really any reports about it yet, because I don't think it's anything too big, but I think Mason Rudolph coming back is probably likely. And I think the idea of having Gardner Minshew or somebody like Gardner Minshew on the team, that's better than Mitchell Trubisky. But and my way of going about it is you don't let that drafted quarterback start. You don't throw him into the fire when crap's hitting the fan. If you have Gardner Minshew and he's not doing good, put in Mason Rudolph or vice versa, and do not throw in that rookie quarterback. You let him sit. And I know that sounds bad, but you just let him sit, because I feel like partially that's what happened with Kenny. And I just don't risk injury, don't risk anything. Just stick to the script. And if we tank, so be it. Get a better, get a better defensive end, get an lineman. I don't care. Just hold. But that's kind of what I've been hearing. Danny Dimes obviously was an idea, but he has gone to the Colts. And Sam Darnold also signed and Zach Wilson has also signed. Not that we would get him. There's some quarterbacks left in free agency, such as Marcus Mariota.
Nope, back with the Commanders.
Oh, never mind. Marcus Mariota is now
He's
gone.
off the board. I'm ripping him off right now.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota is now gone. Jameis Winston, is he still up there? Is he gone
I
too?
believe Jameis Winston is still available. Is he under contract still with the Browns?
I don't know. I don't think so, because they're trying to bring in Russ, because they have Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson.
Dude, I don't know what the Browns are doing at any given time. These Ohio NFL teams, man.
I don't think Jameis Winston's signed. I thought.
Oh, this is a void year. So he's an unrestricted free agent in 2025. So that's why. Yeah, okay, so you're probably good with him then. He's probably on the board.
So some of those guys are available still. I mean, it's slim pickings out here nonetheless. I mean, the quarterback situation is really not that high. I mean, even just a couple of days ago, the Steelers were linked to Kyler Murray. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, would the Cardinals move Kyler Murray if the deal was right? Maybe, but would Kyler Murray do well in Pittsburgh? I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting. I'm not upset by the moves. I'm just really worried about the quarterback situation.
This has nothing to do with really anything other than he did play for the Steelers for a little bit. Just saw Mike Williams is going back to LA Chargers. So he's going to reunite with Justin Herbert. But
which is so stupid that they even whatever.
So that happened. But something I've seen a lot of, and this isn't me trying to take a shot at the Steelers, I do think there is a level of legitimacy to this concern. Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Joey Porter Jr.'s got a little bit of it in him. Let's call them big personalities. What is there any concern there with that? I mean, the talk's been around DK Metcalf and George Pickens, fighting for targets, maybe getting a little upset with Arthur Smith at times based on the way he likes to call some of these games. But I think Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay should become a part of that conversation as well now.
When it comes to them, the problem is with players such as George Pickens. The thing that I want to bring up about him is he complains because partially he's not, getting the targets, but also he's not, he'll get the targets, but he won't catch them, if that makes sense. Okay. And the reason that he's not catching them isn't necessarily his fault, but a lot of times it's because he's overthrown, underthrown. He's not getting the ball. The play calling's poor. Yes. I think he's getting frustrated. He has big personality. He does cause issues, but I think a lot of that has to do with frustration in him not getting enough catches. So, I mean, there was a game, I think it might've been against the Chiefs, where he had like over almost double-digit targets, but he only caught like 3 passes. And it was just lockdown defense in a way, but also like there's no opening for him when he's double covered. I think in an aspect, if they double cover somebody like DK Metcalf, it'll leave Pickens a little bit more open, which will make him happier, or vice versa. So there's really no way that you're going to fix both unless you rotate them. So like if you have DK Metcalf running fades and then you have George Pickens on slots, then switch them so they have more of a balance. And I think Arthur Smith would just have to play around with it. I think you also kind of, and I'm just going to be straight up about this, Josh, and you need a quarterback with balls. You need a quarterback with balls, because the problem is like, nothing against Russell Wilson, but I'm hearing things that like like, I don't know how true this is, but I think a lot of times they didn't want Russell Wilson to improvise, and Arthur Smith was just like, stick to the script. And it caused a lot of the failures. And you need somebody like Ben Roethlisberger that has balls, that when somebody like Todd Haley's like, run this play, and then Ben looks at the field and goes, okay, yeah, we're not going to run that, and then changes the play on the fly. And then even though Todd Haley's like, that was bad, he was like, they got us a first down. You need a quarterback that's going to be like, screw you if it doesn't work. And no, we haven't had that. We haven't had that since Ben, because obviously we're still trying to find that guy. And you need somebody that's going to do that. I don't know if we will until somebody like Mike Tomlin does inevitably move on. because, just because of Mike Tomlin being such a renowned coach, but like, I think it's needed because you need somebody that's going to be like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to adjust this play, and then improvises and then changes it, and then doesn't care about the repercussions because he knows that you're not going to bench him.
So like Aaron Rodgers?
No. Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers in some aspects could be that type of guy, but I think he's like 5 years too late. I think he's a little old.
What if you guys got Aaron Rodgers, but you didn't give him the keys? You gave him like the ability to like read the play. Like if it's a run up the middle and you see the boxes stacked, don't send Gainwell or whoever it is up the middle into the arms of a linebacker. But he can change that. But you're not bringing in play. You're not trading for Devontae Adams again. You're not bringing in players just because Rodgers wants them. You're making him take accountability.
I'm not against it. Like at that point, I mean, obviously, I think if he came to Pittsburgh, he's not going to have that much pull. I mean, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, he had a little bit more pull because he could probably get away with a little bit more. I feel like if the Steelers stack their quarterback room, because in all fairness, the Jets quarterback room really wasn't that good. If you put somebody like, if you have a situation where it's like Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, and a rookie, I think he'll realize like he can be benched. But the problem is Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers are really not in they're kind of at odds right now because he wants a lot of money. He wants a lot of money and a lot of guaranteed money that the Steelers are just not going to give him. If somehow it works, the Steelers will probably only sign him for a year or two. I'm hoping just a year. You put him in the front, and then even if he gets like, however much guaranteed, if he starts stinking and he's like, oh, well, I need my boy Devontae Adams back. Mike Tomlin can be like, tough crap, man. Mason Rudolph is going to start because he actually knows the playbook. And then bye-bye Aaron Rodgers, you're going to ride the bench. So honestly, I think it would be fine. But like I said, the only problem I have though with that too is, in fairness, I mean, Russell Wilson wasn't the worst. I know people don't like him. I don't think he was that bad. But in fairness, if you want to go down that route, they benched Justin Fields for Russell Wilson. We still finished 10-7. And Russ probably at some point probably could have been benched for Fields at a point towards the end of the season. When we started going on that losing spell, probably could have thrown in Fields for new light just to see what happens. And I wonder what it would have looked like against the Bengals. I really do. Like in the last game of the season. Because that could have changed everything for us.
Yeah, that would have changed Lou's plan, I think, because obviously Fields is more mobile than
right. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I think the big question with our free agency is quarterback. I mean, everything else I feel like can be tweaked and adjusted. Running back, you could probably throw anybody back there and you could probably try to make it work. You obviously need a decent running back, but you could probably work with Jaylen Warren and Gainwell and then maybe get a rookie in there or somebody off the streets. Your line isn't bad. You got rid of the pieces that were causing problems, and you have Fayetanu, you've got Broderick Jones probably going to be able to play his position now. You've got guys that are probably going to be good. You got these rookies that really stepped up last year that are going to be in the position to start. And then you got the defense that is getting older. It is starting to reach its peak towards the downhill slope here. So, I mean, it's kind of like boom or bust here. Minka's getting old. TJ Watt's getting old. Cam Hayward is literally on his last thread. I mean, these guys are old. I mean, so the defense is going to dwindle away eventually. So you're running out of time. But I mean, they're still adding pieces. The defense is not something I'm really that concerned about. It's just the defensive play calling. So they got to just figure that out, because if they don't figure that out, we're going to be in for another 10-7 season. But that's if we get a quarterback. If we're running with Bailey Zappi and Skylar Thompson, it's not going to be looking too hot. It's not going to be looking too hot. I'm just saying. And we're looking at maybe 3 wins at best, and the hope for like whoever is the quarterback coming out next year.
I love Bailey Zappi. He's not catching.
I do, but Bailey Zappi. Yeah, my dad, shout out Tom. While free agency was going on, the Steelers were like, "Oh yeah, Steelers are interested in Aaron Rodgers," and he was like, "Actually, I just read that the Steelers have signed Bailey Zappi and named him the starter," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm just kidding." And I actually,
it's Zappy hour.
I was actually like so mad. I have nothing against Zappy. I think he has the potential, but investing in somebody like him is crazy.
People way back when I started this, if they've been around long enough, they remember when Bailey Zappe was a rookie. And every time I said Zappe's name, I had like a little like a lightning shock sound that I'd play. But
yeah, I remember that. I remember when you first started the show, and I would listen to it, and you would every time you said